evening, everyone. Welcome along to your Friday night Rangers Rabble show. My name's Brian, and then tonight I have got Ian and Lewis with me. Ian, how are we tonight?
I'm good. I'm glad it's Friday, and I'm on one of my two of my favourite podders. I say that every week, right enough, but I'm good. Good how are you guys?
Not bad. Lewis, how are you?
I'm not bad, mate. I'm not bad. I've not been on the pod for a couple of weeks now, so excited to be back on talking about Rangers.
Not much to speak about, is there? It's just a quiet couple of days, just nothing's happened.
What do you know? It was a quiet couple of days, and the last 2 years have been pretty manic, haven't they?
Absolutely. Welcome along, everyone, in the comments. Obviously, it's a phone-in tonight, so it's your chance to get your points across to Lewis and Ian and see what they're thinking. So if you want to give us a call, 01416287237, it's your chance to have a chat and speak Rangers and anything that's happening at the club. It's your point, so you speak about what you want. But anyway, Ian, yeah, as you said, it was a quiet enough Friday, and then all of a sudden we get the news that the audio came out of the Dundee United game, and I think it's safe to say that the referee has really just put himself in a corner here, hasn't he?
Do you know, I don't think how it could have worked out worse for Nick Walsh than it did there. When not only have you got the decision with your own eyes wrong, you've then not listened to your colleagues. One said it didn't represent violent conduct, or the other word that was used that escapes me at the moment was violent conduct, and I'll remember in a minute. But violent conduct, and then the other AVR came out and said, "Yeah, doesn't tick the boxes, Nick. Doesn't tick the boxes." But it's a great example of the incompetence you get at Scottish referees. Nick Walsh had seen something and put up the blinkers and refused to see or listen to anything else. Yeah. And that's just a massive dose of incompetence to me, Brian, because when you're given the chance to go to the TV and you talk over your assistants the way he did, whilst they've clearly said, look, I think you need to think about this. Now, don't get me wrong, ultimately the decision sits with Nick Walsh, and it's within his right, it's within his gift to overrule the VAR, because the ref on the pitch has a final say. And I believe in that, absolutely believe in that. And very much when you're on a pitch and you see something happen, it can always look very different when you put it back in slow motion, all that kind of stuff. But all of those kind of safeguards aside, I really don't know how Nick Walsh goes on to continue being a Grade 1 official in this league, because that's a huge error. And to be fair to Willie Collum in the VAR show, he kind of said as much. For him it was a yellow card. I think he didn't quite throw Nick Walsh under the bus, but to be honest, it's an appalling decision, and one that he had a chance to redeem himself on, but chose not to.
Yeah. Anyway, we're not even 5 minutes in. We've got our first call. Smudge, how you doing?
Good evening, Brian. Panel, all right, guys?
Are you
Smudge,
well?
how you doing? How's Lanark?
I know bad. I just phoned to kind of boost the calls, I think. But I was struggling to talk about what to talk about. I know you're talking about VR initially, but my point is just following on for Aldo the other night and the other phone in the first one, and I think Trev mentioned yesterday it's come on, and I think he's not got a lot of credit in the bank, and we're away to Hearts and Kilmarnock. If we struggle in their big games, it's back to we need to get Clement out. We need to get as deep as we can in Europe, definitely win the Scottish Cup, and then see what happens coming in the summer. But I mean, at the moment, I've been anti Clement for a long time. But I do see what the card he was dealt with. He knew what he was dealt with when he came in, right enough. The card he was dealt with, and the way he's got rid of all the shite. There is still a bit of stuff needing done, but he has done well in that, in terms of that. But I don't think he's got a lot of credit in the bank. I reckon Hearts, Kilmarnock away, bad results, and we'll beat the gates again looking to go and get him out. Get what I mean? But on the VAR, quickly, disgraceful. I've seen better officiating it up the top park on a Sunday. Disgraceful. And he should have been demoted, and he was put into a VAR role in the next game.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
Yeah, I mean, Lewis, it's good points that Smudge is making. You know, if Tynecastle and from Rugby Park really don't go the way we want, the pitchforks will be out again, aren't they?
Oh, most certainly. I mean, I'm certainly in the same camp as Smudge there. You know, I've been pretty brutal with Clement quite early on in his tenure, and you know, a couple of decent performances in Europe. That should not, you know, disdain for the fact that he's underperformed, and it's been a consistent underperformance. It's not been like patches here and there. This season has been just, you know, far from good enough for a Rangers manager. And you add into the wee spicy bit of news that Steven Gerrard is now available. I mean, whether people like it or not, that's going to be an attractive thing. It's romantic. It's bringing the guy back that brought us, you know, probably the most important league title in our history. So you add that into it, and you take away two more really poor performances. Europe isn't going to save him, because if he loses day 2 games, you've not got another European game until the start of March. Is he going to survive another 2 or 3 defeats before then? You know, it's all well and good that he picks up form for 4 or 5 games, but we need to see a stretch of double digits at least. And like Smudge said as well, it needs to be long-term objectives. It succeeded as well in terms of winning a cup and clawing back some of the points in Celtic. But short-term, it needs to just be winning games. It needs to be winning games for a consistent amount of time, 4 or 5 game patches where, you know, at times it's been a bit of individual brilliance that saved them. Let's be honest, it's still not as if the manager's really imprinted a style of playing this Rangers team. You feel that, you know, Hageman has a good game, pulls us out of a hole, Cherny, Hadji, etc. So no, I'm exactly the same boat as Smudge. I think there needs to be consistent improvement before we start putting the pitchforks away.
Yeah, I mean, Smudge, it's one of those scenarios where it is very much, there's people giving him a bit of leeway with how we've been doing recently, but one bad result, that's it, isn't it?
I think it is. It's as well as his. I mean, my mental health's not good enough to listen to his press conference at the moment, and I didn't listen to his latest one. But I mean, he talks that much shite, or he has, and his tactical decisions sometimes. And another first line for me. I mean, Tom Lawrence is shoehorned into this Europa League squad as well, which I don't know if he deserves that. I'm not saying that was Fernandez in it. I don't think he's included, is he?
No, he's not.
I mean,
no, he's not.
Lawrence is doing as a striker, a forward, like. But I mean, I just don't think Lawrence. I suppose it's a name, it's a player, but it's just times that Clement just frustrates the hell out of me, like.
Yeah, he's very frustrating, Ian, isn't he? He's got a few things right, but you know, when things aren't going great, we pick holes in the smallest things, don't we?
Yeah. Listen, absolutely. I broadly agree with what Smudge and Lewis said there, because, you know, you're only 2 more. I mean, the Smudge brings up Hearts and Kilmarnock. You're absolutely right. If we go there away from home and look like we can't play in the SPFL again, then he's going to come under the same scrutiny he did beforehand. What I will say, though, I think what we didn't maybe mention enough was is that I don't think we all realise just how many ineffective players we had to get off the payroll that was restricting his movements, because I mean, I wouldn't even say we're halfway through, but I think there's a lot of guys, as much as we've, you know, offloaded Matondo, Davies and the like, Dowell, these guys were only away on loan, and we deferred their wages, Brian, for about 5 months, so they're not off the wage roll entirely. We've still got a wee bit to go for them, you know. So Matondo started well. Let's hope he continues in that vein for Hamburg 96, because I think they'll have to get promotion in order to afford to be able to keep him. So they've kind of taken a little gamble with themselves and thought, right, we've got a wee bit of money here in order to get ourselves back into the top league in Germany. And if that doesn't happen, then I think we might find ourselves with Matondo back at us at the end of the season. So as much as we're stepping in the right direction, there's a lot to go through. But tactically, as far as Smudge and Lewis were talking about there, tactically, I think yeah, it would be interesting to see. When we too many times we've been at games and we've gone down, and then we've seen reactive substitutions from the manager rather than proactive ones in order to kind of change things. So I agree with the boys completely.
Yeah, absolutely. Smudge Gallant says thank you for helping him out.
No problem, that's ideal. You have a great show, and I'll be tuning in straight away when I go off this one.
Absolutely. Cheers. Anyway, thank you very much, Smudge. Good call as always. Nice speaking to you. I mean, it's difficult to say, isn't it, Lewis? I mean, he's actually got. You feel as though there is a little bit of green shoots coming when you see the results and stuff like that. But you just know that the Wolves are ready and waiting for any slip, aren't they?
Aye, it is, and unfortunately, I think Clement's built that scenario for himself. We could sit here and say how unfortunate he's been to be a Rangers manager at this time in history. Financially, the club's in a really bad place. I mean, you even heard in the press conference there that it just wasn't possible to get Lyle Cameron out of Dundee, 6 months early. A guy that's running out of contract that Dundee know they're going to lose for nothing and has a transfer value of like £1 million. Telling me that club wouldn't have accepted 500 grand for that boy, and we can't afford that. So listen, financially, he's got a very, very difficult job, but there's a lot of simple decisions that he's made that just make you question it. Like, how could he, if he's got such a good talent ID, and he should have a good talent ID, being the manager of Rangers? I get there's people below him, scouts, etc., that's their specified job. But how come we didn't realise the ability that Clinton and Ciala had before now? Or how come it took Hamza Agaman until December to make his first start in the Rangers shirt? Decisions like that, and it's even, you go back to last season. I know Todd Cantwell's not a favourite amongst Rangers fans, but let's be honest, in terms of ability, that's a boy that should still be in this squad. And he's not here because the manager made a decision by putting his balls in the line and saying, I'm the big dog here, I'm going to substitute you because you've made a mistake, and then never doing it again, and religiously waiting until 65 plus minutes to make substitutions. So there's things like this that are just, that make you question his ability long term as a manager. I think that's habits that he'll never change, unfortunately. But it's whether he starts to bring up more positives that outweigh the negatives. That's the thing. And again, like I said in my previous point, it needs to be short-term objectives first before thinking about winning, the Scottish Cup, for example, and clawing back some points at Celtic or a good run in Europe. We need to start proving that we are the second best team in this league. That's where it needs to start.
Now, before I come to Jim's super chat, I'll try and play the clip from the audio from the referees, so I'll try my best.
Okay. Kevin Holt, he tries to strike him. Look at it here. Right. So for me, he's pushed, but there, I don't see anything violent or brutality. I don't think it's a red card. Are you with me on that? Or he does not tick any boxes. Nick, it's done. I'm going to recommend an on-field review, okay, for the red card for Diamande, okay? So even though the arm comes out, I don't see. Yeah, but can you give me a different angle, please? Yep, I've got a different angle. How behind here? So just on here, but the contact for me is negligible. And as he's pushed, the arm comes, but I don't see excessive force or brutality.
Yeah.
So the swing with the right hand for you is not violent conduct? Yeah, for me it's not. Swinging action for me. Zoom in on the swinging action by White 10. That's the best angle we've got, the two angles I've shown you. I see a slap towards the face, so I'm going to put him off. Go on the field.
And that was the audio, Ian. As you said before we started, the VAR said to, change his ideas. But we've got Tam waiting, sorry, before we go any further. We've got Tam waiting. Tam, how are you doing?
All right, how are you?
Not bad, thanks. Not bad. How are you?
All right. I was just coming on to speak about Sunday because probably not a lot of people are going to talk about it because it's just Queen's Park. But we have to remember that we are not us at the moment. We're no the team we should be. Do you think we play a full 11? Or do we play your young boys like your Bailey Rice, Curtis, and Sayo and Munn? What are we thinking about that?
Ian, this is I mean, Queen's Park are doing decently in the championship, aren't they? You know, they got promoted last year. They're on a bit of a run. Do you see the manager going full tilt for this game?
Yeah, listen, they're sitting fifth in the championship between Partick Thistle and Morton, if I remember correctly. But I think there'll be a mixture of both, Brian, because we've not had many games. You know, we've not had a midweek game, and a lot of our guys that are getting back to full fitness would benefit from minutes. So unfortunately, we may see another example of the youth players not starting but coming on, is what I feel, which would be a real shame, because I would like to see Bailey Rice start. I would like to see even Munn get a start. That would be great. Albeit I would imagine he's quite far down Clermont's list of potential starters. So yeah, I mean, I think I think you'll start with a relatively strong team, and I think you'll introduce the guys as the game goes on. Because as you say, Queen's Park, okay, they've been on. Well, I don't know if they've been on a bit of a run. I think they win their last game. I think or lose their last game. I'm not perfect on my championship football in Scotland, but I think I would certainly give. I if it was me picking the team, I would certainly have the Rices of the world starting, because if Bailey Rice has done anything, he's deserved to start in the team. You know, it's very different when you bring someone on and expect them to make an impact. Bailey Rice has certainly genuinely deserved a start in the team, but I still think, in answer to Tam's point, I think it will be a stronger team than you would anticipate against the championship side.
I mean, Tam, are you inclined to go with Ian in the sense that start strong and then bring on youth, or are you wanting a good few youth on from the start?
See, in my heart, I want youth players.
Yeah.
But in my head, I know that the state of the club now, we're going to play first team squad members. See, maybe in a year like Gerrard's, we would play every single youth boy we've got under the sun.
Yeah.
But now it just shows what the situation we're at, where we're having to play a full strength team against a team that even the B team beat.
Absolutely. I mean, Lewis, you know, this is going to be a difficult one. Well, not a difficult one for the manager, but an interesting one. He's either going to have to start strong with the team and then, you know, bleed the young guys in, or he starts with the young guys from the start and trust them. Now, you know, with the transfer window that's just been, he's obviously put the gauntlet down to the youth to say, look, I'm backing you guys now. So is this a perfect game for them to even come in and start?
I think for you know, it's individual situations here in terms of who gets a start and who comes on as an impact sub. Like Bailey Rice is more than deserved a start. You know, we've not properly seen enough of him to correctly profile the type of player he is, but from everything that I've heard about this boy, he's a bit of a deep line playmaker. So that's not really somebody that can come onto a game in 60 minutes and make a difference, especially if you're beating, you know, a lesser team 4 or 5-0. Bailey Rice isn't going to stand out. Somebody that needs to start the game and it needs to dictate the tempo and show that he's able to control that midfield, because that's where he's going to play eventually in the next year or two at Rangers, hopefully, if all things go correctly. But the likes of Finlay Curtis, you know, that's fine him coming on in the second half, because he's an attacking wide player that can come on and make something happen in an instant, and then you go.
Oh. Lewis was just getting in his stride there, but
was,
thanks very much, Tam. Much appreciated for the call. Good points as ever. Jim Sloan's super chat. Honestly, listen to yourself, and you're not tired of making the same excuses for corrupt refs every week. Only one team benefits. Look at the stats. It's quite
well.
Difficult.
Listen, Brian, I made that very point to you before we come on, come on the show. So how many VAR shows do we have to watch where poor decisions go against Rangers and the marginal ones go against Rangers? Because if we come on to, who was the boy, Leighton, what was his second name again? The Aberdeen player?
Clarkson.
Leighton Clarkson, yeah, there we go. So Leighton Clarkson's one was deemed to be, you know, the high end of yellow, but Willie Collum basically said there was justifications there for it to be a red. VAR wouldn't have challenged it had it been a red. So there's another marginal decision that didn't go our way. So week after week, what's happening is we're essentially VAR shows gathering evidence is what it's doing. So the penny will drop eventually, but I'm assured by non-Rangers fans that, you know, your luck evens out. If that's the case, I think I was saying earlier, I think we've got nothing but good luck for another 5 years to come, I would imagine, because we've had nothing but bad luck with referees for as long as I can remember.
Sorry, Lewis, you were in full swing there and you cut out.
I don't even remember what I was saying, to be honest.
Bailey Rice, low-lying
Rice.
midfielder, young team deserve to start.
Aye, so like I was saying, just that it's situational. So, Bailey Rice, he's somebody that, in terms of how he plays football, he needs to start games. But the likes of Finlay Curtis, he can come on and make an impact, and he'll have a few moments, and that'll be enough to go right. He's got a future at Rangers. Whereas for Bailey Rice to have a future at Rangers, we need to know if he's capable of controlling the game. The likes of Stephen Davis, the likes of, in very recent times, Nico Raskin. So I would really like to see him start, and as well as Rafael Fernandez, obviously not making the European squad. He's going to be relied on quite a bit more domestically. So it'd be nice to see him get a start. That would be the two that I would pick out.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So Jim Sloan, £10 super chat, much appreciated as always. Smudge coming in with a £10 super chat. Also appreciate the chat and let me phone in. It's a great idea. I think Fridays are better as I've had a can already. Jealous, very jealous. But we've got Chris waiting. Chris, how are you doing?
Hi everybody, how is everybody tonight?
Hi, not good, bad yourself?
Yeah, not bad. Getting there, but just a real point about what damage has been done to our youth players with the lack of what you call any kind of B-League or any kind of progression in the youth system to get our young players playing against professional players. I'll give you an example of that. There's a kid at Ajax who's only turned 17 and he's playing in the league below the Eredivisie week in, week out at 16, 17-year-olds. Bailey Rice is barely getting a kick with the system that we've got. So how much damage are we doing to our young players when kids like from academies in Ajax, PSV, they're playing in the league below the Eredivisie, getting that first-team experience, first-hand, actually, in a lower professional league, play against professional players every week. How much damage are we doing by not having the Bailey Rice, not having the Cole McKinnon playing against that kind of opposition week in, week out?
I'll come to you this, and Lewis, because this is obviously one that you obviously are quite passionate about. I don't think I partially blame Rangers for this, but I put more blame on the authorities for stopping like the reserve league and whatever setup that they had. We're not doing our youth any favours, are we?
No, it's self-sabotage at the highest order. We wonder why the Scottish game in general is just decreasing over the last few decades. This is a prime example why. I mean, we look at any time our B teams in terms of the old firm go and play from the Championship and below. It's usually a pretty comprehensive victory for everybody except maybe the teams at the very top end of the Championship. So if you put our B teams into, say the League Two, they would eventually be coming into the Championship, and see after a couple of decades of that, it would improve the youth setup and the quality of youth players coming through Scotland in general, because the younger players would be getting a higher level of competition earlier on in their career. We've got guys like Ross McCausland, Cole McKinnon, Robbie Fraser. These guys they're no wonder kids anymore. You know what I mean? They're no teenagers. They're 21, 22. You need to have some form of experience to be granted a chance at Rangers at that age. And that's why somebody like Bailey Rice, Finlay Curtis, Mason Munn, these guys need to be given opportunities, because they're obviously higher calibre talents because they're ready at a younger age. But in terms of the youth setup in general, it's just, as I say, it's self-sabotage. It's the league in the country that's doing it to themselves. And that's why, the likes of Ajax, Borussia Dortmund, etc., have the best academies in the world, because their nations allow their youth teams to play at the highest level possible. You've got Barcelona B and Real Madrid B are allowed to play as high as the Segunda division, and it's most other top 5 leagues in the world that's the case. So why is it not the case here? Because the smaller teams think, if Rangers and Celtic get their B teams in, it'll just be them that will perform. No. See, eventually, everybody's youth systems will be improved, and you get a Lennon Miller a lot more frequently than you do right now.
I mean, Chris, when Lewis mentions Lennon Miller, there's a classic example for me. Lennon Miller's played, I can't remember how many games for Motherwell now. Bailey Rice was seen as a better player than him when we signed Bailey Rice, and the difference in the sort of progression is quite stark, isn't it?
Yeah, because the difference is Lennon Miller's getting his opportunity in the first team, playing week in, week out, getting that game experience, getting in the dressing room. I've always said that, see when the player hits 16, see when Bailey Rice hit 16, we should have been getting him out on loan to a Falkirk, a Partick Thistle, somebody like that, to get 20, 30 games, get them in a different changing room, in a professional setup, understand what's expected of them, week in, week out. Because the way I blame the SFA for this, but also blame Rangers in regard to not taking advantage of the loan system by getting these young lads actually loaned out to clubs and getting them that first team experience if the system isn't there in Scotland.
So, Chris, do you think Rangers did the right thing when they pulled the B team out the Lowland League?
If you're going to replace, by pulling it out the Lowland League, if you're going to replace that with actually giving those players opportunities on loan at a championship club and a League One thing, things like that, I think, it's the right decision. But if they were just going to sit in the Lowland League, it's better than nothing if you can't get these lads loaned out. But if you're going to get them loaned out to these championship clubs like Livingston and teams like Falkirk, Partick Thistle, and that, I think that is the better alternative rather than the Lowland League. And
I think that's the way the Rangers have decided to go now, because we've seen how many players go out on loan just in the last 4 weeks, Chris. It's been incredible. So we've obviously decided that setting up these friendlies and glamour friendlies and the Lowland League isn't working for these guys, but putting them out on loan is the only and last thing to do.
Yeah, because one thing you identify, see when you send them out on loan, I'll use Robbie Fraser, for example. You've sent them out on loan to Livingston. If Robbie Fraser is a bit of a pain in the backside, I'm not saying he is in the dressing room, if he's not a very good influence in the dressing room, or he's got poor attitude or things like that, or he's just not good enough, you're going to find out while he's on loan. Yeah. But if he is good enough and he excels on loan, you're then bringing him back into the fold at Rangers, a better player who you can maybe have more confidence in to get into that first team. And we should be pushing these young lads. This is the time now to find out if Bailey Rice is good enough, Finlay Curtis is good enough. Let's get these lads in the first team, play 90 minutes. Let's see if they're good enough, because at the end of the day, we've still got loads of money. So if Bailey Rice comes in, does really well, that saves us £2-3 million out in a midfielder, where that money could be deployed elsewhere.
Can't disagree with you, Chris.
Absolutely spot on, Chris. Much appreciated as usual. Great call. We'll speak to you again soon. Lewis, I mean, he's Chris has said a lot of things there that we all agree. Give the youth a chance, they'll thrive. I mean, look at Insalia. Everybody thought when they've seen him play for the B team, he was nowhere near good enough. He's now playing in the first team with better players around him, and he seems to be flourishing.
Look, I'm going to try my best, lads, but I'm having some severe technical difficulties tonight for some reason. But I made this point on Insiala when he first started breaking through, that when guys are talented enough, playing at that level, they often maybe play out with their abilities, because they're like, I'm capable of more than this. So that might have been what was happening. It was like, listen, I should be playing in the first team and I'm not getting opportunities, which, in terms of professionalism is the best thing to do. But when you're that age, maybe that doesn't come into it as a factor. And he's come into the team and he's like he's took to it like a duck to water. I think he's a gem. I think he's somebody that we can be extremely excited about, and he's a very, very rare commodity in football right now. Is that left-footed centre back, and at that age as well, I think we've got ourselves a very, very good bit of business there. And this is the type of scouting that, Clermont, one of the things to give him credit for is finding players like that.
Tom, super chat, £5. Thank you very much, much appreciated. Cheers from me on, lads. Love the show. I'm absolutely buzzing to have been on. Well, Tom, every time you've called, you've been very articulate and you've made good points. So no problems. Just call again. Ian, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say to Lewis, did you notice against County how Inciala was then dropping a shoulder, pulling the ball behind him and then doing the long diagonals as well? That's a boy that's grown in confidence. So he's starting to show a bit more of what Paolo Maldini saw in him and very much rated. And, if a guy like Paolo Maldini's, rating a centre-back that's at AC Milan and wasn't keen for him to go, then I think he knows as well as anyone what a decent player looks like, to be fair. So, but yeah, his progress has been fantastic. And can you imagine he might end up being the first player to head off in this player trading model if he continues in this vein.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Lewis, great call. We will also get higher transfer fees if these lads make it at Rangers. But they've had experience at a higher level than the Lone League. If they just play Lone League and don't get first team games, then the value just doesn't go up, does it? It's not rocket science, is it?
No, it certainly isn't. And it was just, part of what I was making on my previous point about the youth. We need to start allowing our youth players to play at a higher level because they're capable. Like I said, our B team beats everybody in the system, bar maybe the top two teams in the championship. So they're not going to get any value like the comment there, nor are they going to get the experience required to become a Rangers player. There's plenty of players that have probably slipped through our fingers in the last decade because they've just not got the experience, which has then led to not getting an opportunity. And it's only real special talents that have came through, the likes of Nathan Patterson, for example. So it's something that needs improved in Scotland as a whole, not just for Rangers.
Right, Ian. I'll come on to this comment here.
Go on then.
We need the fan media to start calling out the cheating that goes on in the league, or we are never getting anywhere. Now,
well, to be fair, I think the fan media has been calling it out. Well, they certainly, some of the fan media stop short of calling it cheating and just call it, gross incompetence, basically, Brian. But like I said to you before, and every time the question comes to me, it's 3 VAR questions I've had. I don't know how many times I can basically say this, but essentially, every week that Willie Collins VAR show reflects, that but we kind of got that wrong, and was it Rangers that fell victim to it again? You know what I mean? So we're gathering a body of evidence, so they've literally put it out on YouTube and BBC themselves. So, if we have, maybe we do have a mindset to change. Maybe this unconscious bias that everyone talks about is a real thing, because it would certainly reflect that and how the decisions haven't gone our way. So, yeah, I don't think the fan media have been short in calling out the really bad decisions that have gone against us. And at times, even when there's a great example, Nick Walsh being told by his colleagues, look, we think you've got this wrong, but he chooses to see what he wants to see, puts up the blinkers and just remembers the part of that altercation that he thinks was a red card, despite his colleagues telling him otherwise. So, yeah, let's just hope we can get some better refereeing as the days progress.
Yeah, it's a fine line, Lewis, isn't it? It really is a fine line. I think when the audio comes out and when everybody hears what the VAR and the referee speak to each other about, and they hear exactly what's getting said, that's when folk come to conclusions and come to different scenarios. Whereas when you didn't hear it before, nobody sort of came up with sort of ideas of possible, incompetence or possible cheating or whatever you want to call it. So when you hear that audio like it was today, it's difficult to then sort of back up these officials, isn't it?
It makes it near on impossible, Brian. That's the problem with VAR now, is that we see the sheer level of incompetence of the officials in this country. It's there for plain in view, everybody to see. So they're not going to get away with it like they might have done in prior times. But I think one of the biggest issues is the lack of real visual punishment for mistakes like this. Because let's call it what it is. This is an error. That this is not a like opinion. Nick Walsh has made an error. He has failed at his job. That's what that man's
Yeah.
done, and he's had previous for it as well. If you have two of your colleagues or three telling you that that's one way and they have a better view of it than you did, and you still decide to stick with your incorrect decision, then you either need to come out and explain why you made that decision, or you need to be punished.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Lewis makes a good point there, but the ultimately decision sits with the referee on the pitch, Brian. Yeah, so he's allowed to to disagree with VAR. He's allowed to disagree with VAR. I mean, we'll see other examples whereby the ref on the pitch is getting it right and VAR have maybe gone the wrong side of a marginal decision. That will change, but it's just all too often that kind of stuff happens for us, and it's not on. It's not on.
But Ian, see if that's the case, right? Obviously, you're right. At the end of the day, it's a ref decision.
Yeah.
But if two of his colleagues, for example, are overruling him, then at what point do we start going, right, that's a mistake being made by the referee? Well, so that's why he needs to come out and explain the decision.
Yeah, that's a great example. Then maybe that loss should be a wee bit different. If the VAR room are unanimous, the VAR truck's unanimous, did they get to overrule the ref, Lewis?
You start getting into murky waters there.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the referee's in charge of the game, not VAR, isn't he?
Yeah.
And
Can I just say really quickly, and I'll leave you to it because my screen's not working right. If we come out and say that they're cheating and we can't prove that they're cheating on this podcast, that's liable. You have to be able to prove it. It's not like social media where you can just say whatever you want. You have to be able to prove it.
Absolutely. And that's the difficulty, isn't it? This is the difficulty that you're getting yourselves into. But as somebody said in the comment earlier, I can't find it. Is it higher up the club we need to be going before like putting pressure on the sort of SFA for the VAR stuff? Is it is it the CEO, the chairman, that's got to like start throwing their weight around and saying, look guys, this is not good enough?
And I've no doubt he has. I mean, I saw a comment, I think it was from Shona McLean there, that Patrick Stewart should be the one that's rattling the cage of the SPFL and the SFA. Yeah. And I've got no doubt he's had these conversations already. Why is it us again? I'm sure he's had the same repeat conversation time and time again, Brian. So eventually that if there is any kind of unconscious bias or whatever there is, that mindset needs to change, because it cannot be up until last week that, being second in the league, up until the county game, we had 0 penalties. The chances of that are really unlikely.
What did we say before the county game?
Yeah, I actually predicted the penalty. That's right. I said today we would get one. But the point being is, it almost felt like because we just had to get one eventually, didn't it? But how likely is it that the team second in the league is going to sit bottom with no penalties in the penalty table? Yeah, the likelihood of that isn't particularly strong. So to me, there's a body of evidence there. It just doesn't really make much sense. So I wouldn't like to think that we've got referees that are purposely going out their way trying to trip Rangers up at any given moment. But maybe there's times where they feel that it's easier to make another decision than another. Who knows? But I think this VAR show is a good thing, because if we go on there every week and we see a decision that's gone against Rangers, or a marginal decision that's gone against Rangers, then it doesn't look great, does it?
No. Certainly doesn't. But we'll park the VAR now. That's been, absolutely, and the guts of 40 minutes away. So we'll park that. But the Lewis, the Europa League list came out today. The squad list. no real surprises, was it really? I mean, there was 2 left. One's long-term injured and 3 come in. It was pretty straightforward, wasn't it?
I think the changes were pretty self-explanatory, weren't they? I think most of the fan base kind of agreed that was the 3 that would come out, and probably the same 3 that would be replaced. Just in general terms, I know we probably won't want to go to a deep dive into this, but I think in the next couple of years with the new format for both the Europa League and the Champions League, this is something that UEFA will need to take a deeper dive into, changing this, because it's extremely unfair. It favours the bigger teams massively because they have a bigger pool of youth players, and it's just easier for them to bring the 8, I think it's 8 trained in the nation and then 4 trained by the club. It's not as simple for a club like Rangers to adhere to the rules, and you add in an extra 2 games in Europe. I think it's certainly something that needs to be looked at. But aye, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Yanis Hadji, debatably our best player this year, definitely deserves his spot. Nsiala, we've spoke about in length, definitely deserves his spot. And who was the third?
Danilo.
Danilo.
That may be slightly controversial given his injury worries, but given the fact that he's going to be hopefully quite clearly fit by the next European game, again, you can understand.
Absolutely. And folks, remember, this is a phone in, so get your calls in. 0141 628 7237. Martin is sitting back waiting for your calls to put you through. But nicely takes us on Ian Tahaji and his situation. Now, we're led to believe that Genoa in Italy have made going to make an offer to him to sign him on a pre-contract. He'll obviously get paid a handsy sum there, because obviously he's on a free. If any move is made before he signs a contract with us, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes, A, because he's getting better money, and B, because pretty much the way we've treated him.
Well, yeah, I think if anyone gets to leave Rangers and not have a feeling of disdain from the fans, it's Yanis Hadji, isn't it? I mean, let's be honest. The boy has done nothing but the right thing since he was cast out of the team. He's gone in, got his head down, played fantastic for the B team, showed up. He's been doing double training sessions in the gym, doing some a major recovery system that he's gone through with his career-threatening injuries. So yeah, but he has, Brian, and there's a couple of our podders, Alan and Kieran in particular, he has on many occasions said about how much he loves the club. So if that's a factor, and we're still in his fancy, then let's see him sign his new contract. The rumours have it, I heard Martin in the afternoon rabble today, I think the deal is rumoured to be in the region of £5 million, worth that to Yanis Hadji. And if that's the case, that's really difficult to turn down. And I've been in that part of Italy where Genoa play, so it's a really nice part of the world. So it wouldn't be, it's let's just say there's a wee bit more to do there than Glasgow.
Just say what you're thinking. Just say what you're actually thinking. Don't look around.
But yeah, so you couldn't blame him for that. But let's see how much Yanis Hadji loves this club. I mean, I can only assume that they off. And here's a good point that I was thinking about earlier. I think if Hadji goes off to Genoa, as he may well do, I think the board may have to come out and say, well, look, this is what we offered them. Mm-hmm. I think they might have to do that, because there'll be an onus back on the board. Well, how hard did you try to keep this guy? How much did you push that player trading model and wage ceiling that we've, because we've still got the likes of Czerny and Dessers on really good money. They're among the highest paid players in the club. So are we saying, but then we can't forget, we've got to say, should Hadji be on the wages that these guys are on? And you could argue you should be. You could absolutely argue you should be. So I think if the board lose out to Genoa here, I think the Rangers board have got to come out and say, well, look, this is what we appreciate the situation he went through when he managed to renege his last year of his contract, and he managed to, because we agreed for him not his wage not to go up as per his original contract. So I think the board is going to have to come out and say, look, this is what we offered Hadji in order for him to stay. Be interesting to see if they do, though. I'm not sure they will.
I mean, Lewis, is it not a case of, let's be frank, whatever Rangers offer, Genoa's going to blow Rangers out of the water, aren't they? Let's be. I can't see a situation where we can offer Hadji more money than Genoa. I just don't see it.
Well, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that I'm an expert on the finances of a mid-table team in Serie A, but I certainly think in terms of wages, I don't think they'll blow him at the water. That £5 million will be, a variety of add-ons and signing on bonuses because he's a free agent. He won't be getting like 40 plus grand a week. It will be maybe 25 with the rest coming in and bonuses. And, it's absolutely not the player's fault. It's 100% the club's fault. I mean, who would actually sit here and blame Yanis Hadji for going, do you know what? F yous, after the way I've been treated this season. Like, I don't owe you anything, and he's got the power now, so it'll be very interesting to see. And this is a guy he's obviously grew up pretty well off. He's ended up a footballer at a pretty young age, at a decent level. He's not a guy that's going to be in desperate need of money. It's not exactly a Saudi type move, is it? So it just depends at what at 26 years of age, what Yanis Hadji decides he wants for the rest of his career. He wants to go and enjoy the beauties of Italy, as Ian says, compared to Glasgow, or does he want to stay here and have a better legacy in the game itself? It'll be up to that.
Just on that, Brian, is it worth mentioning? I think Martin picked up on it a wee bit in his afternoon rabble as well. Now, remember last summer when Hadji was looking for other suitors and couldn't find one? He actually, he couldn't find a club. Is it worth mentioning, or are we just being a wee bit paranoid here, that the owner of Genoa is Romanian?
Mm-hmm.
So are we to think, well, there's an offer come in from a Romania. How much of that, he's a Hadji fan. He's, Georgie Hadji's holds credit everywhere with Romanians around the world. So, maybe that's just a coincidence. But, if Hadji certainly merited a good offer from us and certainly merited interest from other clubs. And I've got no doubt with his contract expiring now at the end of the season, it won't be just Genoa that are in for him. But the Genoa offer may force Rangers' hand to make our offer better.
Possibly.
And
Yes.
Is that part of the gig? That's what I'm thinking.
It's a game of poker, isn't it? It's a game of poker, and who blinks first, basically. So, but we've had another super chat from Jim. Jim, much appreciated. Thank you very much. How much does it cost to be a member of the Rabble? Well, membership started $1.99, and there's 3 different tiers, and you pick the tier that you feel suits you. There's a supporter level, there's a CEO level, and there's a sponsorship level. So there's 3 different levels, and the links are in the description below in the YouTube. So it's up to you, Jim. You pick the level that suits you best and come and join the madhouse. But anyway, Luis Cortez obviously been taken out of the European squad, where it looks as though, I think me and Ian were speaking about it earlier before we come on, that we're almost resigned now to committing money for this guy in the summer. He had no injury history before he came to us. Is this one that's going to really bite us in the backside, or will he come good?
Well, I'm about to say something that might sound slightly crazy this season, but I'm going to try my best to trust in the manager and hope that he's telling us the truth and that these injuries that Cortez is continuing to get are nothing to worry about. I would like to think the manager would maybe be a bit honest with the fan base and saying, listen, this is going to be a long-term issue, and it doesn't appear to be that. It appears to be that he's getting several different injuries for several different reasons, which doesn't sound better, but it actually is in terms of injuries, because if it's a consistent injury, it usually means that the player's got a permanent issue there that's going to hamper them for the rest of their career. If it's small niggles here and there, then it might just hopefully be a case of this boy is not athletically ready to play at this level yet. We forget that he had 4 games for Lens before coming to Rangers. 4 games, and I think maybe 11 games in Colombia before that. That's a very small amount of football, a very, very small amount of football at men's level, and we've committed, it's an obligation to buy. I think it's £3.4 million.
So it's a worry. It's certainly a worry. But I thought in the 7 games he did play, he looked very, very good. I thought he looked very, very exciting, and he's. I mean, it all stems from Clement telling us before the season, I'm going to improve the physio department by not playing players when they should be playing. Yeah, he starts Cortez and he gets injured in the first game of the season, and that's probably the reason that he's on the physio's table right now is that decision. So let's just start fresh next year, because unfortunately he's our player now.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, folks, there's still time to get a call in 01416287237. Still time to get your point across if you're wanting to speak anything Rangers. Ian and Lewis are here to chat. But yeah, Ian, it is a worry, isn't it? We're laying out a shed load of money for this guy. You know, he started off very promising. I must admit, he played that game. I believe it was St Johnstone. He made his debut. We won 3-0. He looked very good, and then injuries started. And I know everybody will say, well, he's injured, but you know, injuries can happen to anybody. You can get an injury of any form at any time. It just seems to me we're just not getting a lot of luck in that category just now.
Especially Oscar Cortez, absolutely. I mean, he's. I think the manager described his bad luck as something that he's never even witnessed in football before in previous interviews. So, yeah, I just think that. I mean, don't get me wrong. The only reason is it not 4.3 million we agreed to play, not 3.4? I thought it was a wee bit more than 3.4 million. Is it? Yeah, who knows the figures? You know?
I'm
Yeah.
taking
So
a lot of Football Manager, so don't
brilliant. So is that a good reference or a bad one, Lewis? I don't know. Is it
a good one? Hopefully,
is it a good one? Is it right? Okay, brilliant.
But it's still a shed load of money, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Listen, whatever it is, I mean, the only ring fence I would put around that is, you know, he's come over on the basis that's a lot of money to shell out on promise, because he's not really had a big career as such. If you actually look back at his professional games, there's not that many games. But if it's a Coppin signing, then if you look at the young players that Coppin have brought in on a real shoestring budget, some of them, you've got to say, he's doing pretty well so far. He's actually doing pretty well so far. So if this is the same guy that gave us Inciala, got his Igaman, you know, these type of players, then, you know, obviously they've ran the rule over this boy and thought this guy's a player. And had he had the chance this season to shine, who knows, the 3.4 million or 4 million, whatever it may be at the end of the season, might have seemed like a great bit of business. But I think, as Stuart Wright said in one of our previous pods, you know, I think Rangers probably thought they were doing a really good deal getting this guy and not having to pay till the end of the season. But that's only great until he then gets injured, then can't feature, and then we still got to stump up the cash. So this paying at the end of the season has almost been a weight round the boy's neck, because the truth is, the moment he arrived at Ibrox, that was the money we paid for him. When it gets paid is irrelevant. You know what I mean? He's, whether it's the first day or the last day, it doesn't matter, unless we have the ability to negotiate out of it, should we see fit. But it's too early to do that. I guess the positive spin I can put on Oscar Cortez would be, Brian, is he's going to feel like a new player next year. That you know, a signing that we've like a new signing that we've not brought in. So that's someone who, and by the way, by which time he'll be very much settled into the culture of Glasgow and all that kind of stuff. And see, for young players, that makes a huge difference. A huge difference, especially when you brought them out of South America to Western Europe. And I think he'll hit the ground running next year. I'm sure we'll see him, because I think the manager said he's going to be, is it 3 or 4 weeks away before he starts training or whatever it is. Yeah. So I just think we'll see Oscar Cortez in all his glory next year. And in all honesty, I wouldn't be rushing him back. Let's just get him where he needs to be for next season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from all accounts, you know, Danilo's starting training next week. Yilmaz and King are already back in training, and then Sterling and Balogun, you know, the week after. So there is numbers coming back, Lewis. But as you know, as anybody knows, you know, after you've been out for a period of time, it takes you that bit longer to come back to match fitness. It's all right getting fit. It's the match sharpness, the match fitness, isn't it? That's the bits that you lose.
Aye. It's just, it feels like since we've climbed back up the leagues that this has just been a problem for however long, where we just seem to have some consistent injuries every single season, bar maybe, the 55th league title season. That's probably the only year. Joe Aribo was, he needed investigated that season, because I think he had played like the most games of any player in Europe. I think it was like 73 games or something Joe Aribo had played that year. And to go from that to where we are now, and it starts to make you question, the medical department and the manager, because the manager should be on top of this, and he's told us he was going to be on top of this, and it's actually got worse. So it brings a lot of problems. And when you're a club like Rangers and Celtic, it's a really difficult thing, because we are massive clubs. We're the same level as the likes of all the top teams around Europe, but we just don't have the same facilities or finances. So it becomes even more difficult when we suffer things like injuries. Look at Tottenham now. Look at what Tottenham are doing right now. How much they're struggling due to injuries, and they're light years ahead of us in terms of finances and facilities.
Yeah.
So we drop 5 players, their season's done. That's kind of what it is. I mean, say for example, right, touch here would hope this doesn't happen, but say like Cherny, Hadji, and Inciala are out for the rest of the season. That's us finished. That's how brutal this can be in a club like Rangers.
Yeah.
2 or 3 major injuries and we're done. So it just I don't know. I don't know what to say on it anymore, because it just feels like we're cursed a wee bit. I just hope that everybody starts to get back for the European games starting, and it looks like just about everybody bar Cortez is going to be ready for that. So we'll hope and see.
So, Lewis, are you less concerned then about the quality? You're okay with the quality of signings? You just need a bit more convincing around Philippe Clement?
Oh, I think, like
Yeah.
I said, I think his talent ID is proven to be almost acceptable.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you said, Hamza Agaman is one of the most special players I've seen at Rangers, and I've got a very young view on that. I must say, but he's very special. Inciala looks outstanding. I think, especially when you look at the last manager, how many success stories has Michael Beale got compared to how many it looks like Philippe Clement is going to have. I think that his talent ID is certainly there. It's his tactical skills that I'm more concerned about.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And just before we finish, another super chat from Jim, much appreciated again. Just an absolute channel legend. Easy the famous. Next time in the wrestling, I'm kicking your arse, pretty boy, Brian. Well, I didn't end up in the ambulance, Jim. You ended up in the ambulance, so we'll soon see. But no,
is there a fight on tonight? Incidentally, should we have it?
No,
is it not tonight?
No, there's nothing on tonight. No, but yeah, that was last night. It was a great fun.
Listen, am I right here? Did Tim Sharp give Martin a kicking last night?
Yes,
is that how it went?
Yes, that's how it happened.
I'm just waiting for Martin to come on and completely deny that.
That was pretty much how it went. Yeah, absolutely. But, so that is us, folks. That's pretty much us. I mean, unless there's
Tim Sharp was a real story, and don't you let Tim Sharp kid you on. We all know what he's about.
Exactly.
So, of course, we've got Queen's Park, Lewis. Queen's Park on Sunday. Sunday, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel we've said this before. We said this before Fraserburgh, to be quite honest. This should be a routine win, but well, Fraserburgh showed us that sometimes these things don't quite go to plan.
Aye, no, they definitely don't. But listen, this is all part of the short term plan. Like I've been saying through it, it needs to be proven that we are by far the second best team in this country, no matter who we come up against, and it continues against Queen's Park, who will be a much tougher test than Fraserburgh. But please, for the love of God, just make it easy. So I just want a nice, easy win, and then we'll continue with the rest of the games afterwards.
Absolutely, and of course it's a return of the old Glasgow derby, isn't it? We're back to the original Glasgow derby. So it'll be nice to see Queen's Park strutting their stuff. I've always, I quite like their strip, the black and white. I quite like that.
Yeah, it's good that you can always feel a presence when you're in and around the Hampden area, aren't you? You know what I mean? So it's it's a game I'm looking forward to. You know what I mean? The Fraserburgh game was nice for all the other reasons, because it was this Highland League team, and the guys come down, enjoyed their experience. Whereas Queen's Park, the tradition of Queen's Park, they know what Rangers are all about, and they've been there over the decades many times. But as Lewis says, let's hope there's no problems there. I can't see there being, but with it being a cup game and the cup being our only competition of real chance of us winning, that also makes me think Clement may start stronger than he should or we anticipate. So I just think we'll see the young guys coming on. Should it all go according to plan and we get a couple of goals, 2 or 3 goals within the first kind of 40, 50, 60 minutes, and then we'll see the guys coming on, I think. So, don't foresee any problems. And so these cup games are always good. They're always good.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as I said earlier, on the YouTube or the Patreon, the Rangers Rabble, you can join for as little as $1.99 a month. There's 3 different levels. You can pick the level that suits you the best. Come along and enjoy all the benefits and the supporter, CEO, and sponsorship levels. The shows are thick and fast daily. We have the afternoon Rabble, which is for the CEO and sponsorship levels. So, get yourselves and sponsor and supporters as well for every member. But there's lots of content. There's the EPL shows. There's the wrestling, which is now picking up a lot of heat because everybody's starting to get involved. There's the SPL shows that's still going. I believe still, is it the SPL show? Yes, it's still going. So that'll be us, folks. We've got the Random Rabble tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the morning, I believe. So it's 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. We'll be back with the Random Rabble, and then we'll be back with the watch along on Sunday, Rangers versus Queen's Park. My thanks to Lewis and Ian. Ian, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Lewis, nice seeing you again.
You too, mate. Thank you.
Absolutely. And everybody in the comments, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon.